Welcome to this live recording at He Lives Bible Church, where the order of our life is glory. God's messenger of hope, an agent of glory, Pastor Abraham Great, serves with a prophetic mandate as a senior pastor here at He Lives Bible Church to raise a generation of people ready for the coming of Christ. The message you're about to hear has the proclivity to move you forward into actions. The order of your life is glory. It is working.
Good morning, church. What has happened is, in the first half, Pastor has tried to use the yardstick of the world to tell us what we think success is. But my remit in the second half is to actually give a biblical definition of success. And to make it easy, what we have done is we've actually used each alphabet in that word success as the 8 points that we'll be using. So if you want to write it down, S is for sense of direction. U is for understanding. Am I too fast? S is for sense of direction. U is for understanding. C is for commitment. The second C is for compassion. E is for enthusiastic faith. Am I too fast here? So S for sense of direction, U for understanding. The first C is for commitment. The second C is for compassion. The E is for enthusiastic faith. The first S is for service to others. And the second S is for staying power. So it's with regards to that we will just be going. Now, for the sense of direction, you will find out that most people that we count as successful, either in the worldly way or in the religious way, always have one thing. If you ever read an autobiography or speak to any one of them, they will say, I had this dream, I had this vision, or I thought of this thing. And it's like, immediately they get that vision, they make a beeline for it. Nothing detracts them. They know what they want. So that is the first thing to be successful, because success itself, you have to measure at the end of the day what you've done. And how do you measure? That means you must have a template of what ought to be. Then you compare. Let's take a very successful man today, Bill Gates. Many, many decades ago, when he actually started from his garage, he had a vision, and that was a sense of direction. And I don't know, has anybody read his autobiography? What did he say was his vision? He said he wanted a computer in every home. And now today, every one of us is enjoying the success of that man. But that is one man's vision. Today, most of what we're going to be using, or the descriptions or examples we'll be giving, will be based on somebody I believe is the second most important man in the New Testament, Paul. Because I think Jesus was successful and he was bound to be. God cannot fail. But Paul, if you know the story of Paul, he was successful in everything he did. Even when he was in the war, he was a successful thug. He was beating people. He persecuted Christians. When he became a Christian, he was also a success. But we're trying to look at his life as our yardstick of biblical success. And now, what did Paul say? If I can get the media team to bring Romans 15 verse 20 up in the New International Version, please. That's the one I'm used to. Romans 15 verse 20. It says, it has always been my ambition to preach the good news where Christ was not known, so that I would not be building on someone else's foundation. Now, that is Paul's sense of direction. He says, it has always been my ambition to preach the gospel. This is a man that when he converted, he knew what he wanted. But one thing I also want to say is, this verse, when I was meditating on it, has two parts to it. If you look at the second part, it says, so that I will not be building on someone else's foundation. In life, sometimes they say it is good to know where you want to go, but it is also good to know where you don't want to go. So that is the oxymoron or the ambiguity in that statement, which is Paul knew what he wanted to do, but he also knew what he would not want. And people always say, when I was growing up, I know one of my uncles used to tell me, You should know what you want, and you should know what you don't want, so that people cannot offer you rubbish. It's just like you say, oh, I want to build a house. If you know you want to build a house, fantastic. But if you don't know that you're not going to use cheap materials, you are likely to cut corners. And what happens? The building may collapse. And why has Paul done that? Paul knew one thing. He didn't want to inherit anybody's problem. That is why he said he wanted to go somewhere, preach the gospel where it is not known, so that he will not be building on somebody else's foundation. Look at this church, for example. It was started by Pastor Great. Every problem, Pastor, sorry, I'm using it as an example. Every problem in this church, you can assume that Pastor Great caused it. But if you are taking the church from somebody else, it will be dealing with somebody else's problem. So which is the sense of direction there. There is an American author, I've forgotten his name now, I read his book years ago. He said when he was young, he's one of the very successful black men from South America. And if you know the story of South America, then you know it was slavery, racism. It was almost like nothing good can ever come from a black man there. But he is one of the few celebrated people that even whites in America respect him. He said when he was young, one thing he knew was every morning his father would wake him up and say, what's your plan today? It got to a point, the mantra in their house was, you have to wake up in the morning with something on your mind. Because that is when you can go back to bed and actually look back and say, have I achieved these things? If you go to the airport too and say, oh, I want to buy a ticket, I think, what is the first question somebody will ask you? Where to, exactly. So, destination, basically, direction. So that is the key thing, because a lot of us say, oh, we want to do this, we want to do this. But if we don't actually articulate it, I'm very sorry, it will be what is called daydreamers. And everybody can dream. There is nobody there is a phrase in the army that there is no soldier who doesn't want to be a general. Because you look at the respect, the command, the truth behind them. So everybody can daydream, but it is that sense of direction that gives you the difference. Jesus is another example. At 12 years old, I don't know where this is in the Bible. I know it's in the Second Testament, but I don't know which chapter you can find it. At 12 years old, there was a time they were looking for him, and they found him in the temple, in the synagogue. And what did he say? He said, I am going about my father's business. That was at 12 years old. That was a young man at 12 years old that knew his calling, and he ran for it. At 33 and a half years, when he had completed it, you could see the satisfaction. Even though he was nailed to the cross, it was painful. What did he say? It's finished. So, brethren, to be super successful, I want to say, please, that first S, bear it in mind. Every one of us must have a sense of direction, a sense of purpose. It doesn't matter what it is that we want to be successful in, but we must first of all articulate it, and also bear in mind that we must not settle for less. So when you know what you want, always know the other side of the coin, what you won't settle for. The second part of it is understanding, as we said. Now, it's very good to say, yes, I want to do this, I want to do that. But life is one funny thing. Immediately you know what you want, life will throw you surprises. And the surprises, unfortunately, are never always pleasant. They are almost always obstacles. But now, it's one man's interpretation that this is an obstacle, it's another man's interpretation that these are actually opportunities presenting themselves as challenges. And what is the difference between the two people? The one that sees it as a trouble, that, oh, this is too much, I can't take it. And the other one that says, actually, these are opportunities in my challenges. Can anybody tell me what's the difference? It's the understanding of the situation. One understands that this is my plan, this is what I want to do. It's not going to be rosy, but I will go there. The other one says, this is my plan, but hey, I didn't know it was this difficult, I have to stop. Let's take a look again at Paul. If I can have Philippians 4, verse 12. He said, I have learned the secret. Philippians 4, verse 12, yeah. I'm just taking a sentence there. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I have learned the secret. Please note that to be content, you have to learn it. Nobody was ever born content, because at every point in life, like they say in this country, the other side of the fence is always greener. So when you can always see what you are doing and you see somebody that is either doing it better or getting more out of what they are doing. But learning to be content is a very, very key thing, because if you don't have that understanding, then it becomes difficult to be successful. It's a tough lesson for some of us to learn, and really it's almost a lifelong learning. There's a very, very rich and successful man in America called Howard Hughes. And one time he was asked a question, how much money does it take to make a man happy? How much money does it take to make a man happy? Well, his answer was very simple, a little bit more. And it's not surprising then that sometimes, my father used to make a joke that, I don't understand all these very rich men. You are very rich, you are a millionaire, you are still struggling to make more money. But that is it for you there. It's a little bit more, because people are not content. He has it, he has everything, but he always wants more. Learning to be content actually brings you endurance. Pastor said something about success, that success is a journey. A lot of people think success is a destination. Sorry, I'm using very personal examples. There's an uncle of mine who is a very, very great mentor to me. And I always make sure I speak to him every quarter of a year. And I remember every time we're dropping the phone, he's always saying one thing to me. He said, always remember, success is a journey. Every destination you get to, enjoy it, whether good or bad. But know that that is not your success. A lot of people see success as a destination. I want to buy a car. When I have a car, I'm successful. But that is not. It is actually your life going through those stages that actually makes you successful. And what helps you to understand that as well, apart from contentment, is endurance. Look at somebody that runs a marathon. You are running a 10K marathon. By 6K mile, you see some people dropping. By 7K, you see some people lagging behind. But you see this person that is just going. He's still in the pack, but he's not leading. When it comes to 9K, then the person actually shoots ahead. It's just because that person has learned the secret of endurance that you have to continue. And the same thing with business. You can always equate your business or anything you do in life. I'm using business, but sorry, we're talking about success generally. Marriage, spiritual life, anything you do. It's that endurance, always looking at somebody who is an Olympian or somebody running a marathon. Nobody has ever won, as far as I know, in the history of Olympics, a gold medal from their first time. That, I just woke up from the street, I ran in my neighborhood with all the pebbles and cobwebs for 100 meters, and now here I am. I'm an Olympic gold medalist. They always seem to have started from training. When they train, they go to maybe national championships in their country, they win it, they lose it, they go to international meetings, they do different things. And you can see people will now start saying that that guy is improved. That in about 4 or 5 years, in about 6, 7 years, even the journalists will start predicting that this guy might win the medal. But if that guy cannot endure, he won't understand that success is a journey, and he would have probably quit before really ready. And that's why sometimes you see some people say, why is that person very successful? He doesn't know as much as I know. Pastor Great said one very funny statement one day that fools sometimes are very successful. And you know why? You know why? They don't know when to quit. They just don't know when to quit. So that's why sometimes fools you see are very successful. They just keep going and going and going. People say, that guy is stupid, that guy is stupid. It's like a goat. He keeps going back to the same place. But he may lack the understanding at that point. But one thing is that he has the endurance. And that's why he keeps going back. Now, just because of our time, I'm conscious of what we're doing. The next thing to think about is commitment. Commitment is what will drive you from mediocrity to excellence. Commitment will drive you from mediocrity to excellence, because when you're doing something and you're committed to it, you find that every day you come back to it, you do it better. There is a popular phrase that says, practice makes perfect. Absolutely. Now, you can just turn it rather and say, commitment makes perfect. Because when you practice, what keeps you going on practicing and practicing is your commitment. Because if you're not committed to it, you do it the first time, either you don't like the result or you like the result, you are likely to stop it. But when you are committed, you keep going at it. And it's the same story about the person running the marathon. When you look at the story of all these sportsmen, people, they will tell you they wake up at 5 o'clock, they run, God knows, especially those ones that run long distances. They run so many miles every day. Believe me, it's not easy to be that committed. Some of us, you look outside, you even just see some little white on your grass, not on the road. I'm talking about snow. You start thinking, I'm going to tell my boss today that, yes, my car stopped. Or I'm going to say, yes, I have that headache. You just start looking for every excuse not to go to work. I do it anyway, so I'm not sure about other people. So I do. But what I'm trying to say is, there will be somebody else that will say, actually, there is that 6 inches snow on my driveway. But no, I won't take my car. I will walk. I will take a taxi. There was a time in this hospital in Milton Keynes, there was so much snow and they needed one particular consultant. You know what they did? The guy said he couldn't come. They rang a farmer who had a tractor. Honestly speaking, they rang a farmer who had a tractor and actually told the farmer that, look, do you mind taking your tractor to that place? So when they got to that place, the man said he couldn't ride in a tractor. Commitment. You said you couldn't come because your car, you were snowed in, your car would not move. They got you a tractor. If you were committed, wouldn't you be happy that somebody even found you something? Now it's a question of comfort. I'm a top consultant. I have this Jaguar. How can you bring a tractor? But somebody that is committed would have even said, don't worry, when that tractor is coming, because he said his house was on a hill or something like that, so that's why I couldn't come. He would have said, when that tractor is coming, tell the tractor not to go up the hill. I would have walked down to meet the man there. But he actually stayed in his house. The tractor was at his door, and it was still like, are you crazy? What did you send me? So please, your commitment will determine how far you go. Let's look at Acts 20, verse 24. Acts chapter 20, verse 24. However, I consider my life worth nothing to me, if only I may finish the race and complete the task the Lord has given me. This is also Paul speaking. He said he considers his life worth nothing, if only he may finish the race. How many of us know that in everything we do, we start a race, but we don't finish it? Even the simplest thing I always say is, some people say, oh no, I don't have anything, I don't have any race. How many of us have actually taken a stock of our day? When you wake up, you have a to-do list, 4 or 5 things. And then at the end of the day, you find that some people are so sidetracked, they haven't done anything at all. Or they've only done 1 out of 5 things. So that is the simple exercise there. But Paul is saying here that he considers his life worth nothing, only if he can finish the race and complete the task Lord has given him. That is a man that is committed. The next thing we're going to talk about, before I go to the next C, which is compassion, I just want to ask you, what are you committed to as a person? Is it your family? Is it your church? What is it that you think, oh, I will give everything and everything to finish this race? Because that is important. When you have a commitment, you pay a price. Because commitment means, in economic terms, there is something called opportunity cost. When you are committed to something, other things will suffer. And that is just the truth about life. The marathoner that goes out on the street running every morning is losing 2 hours of his sleep, because some people will probably still be sleeping till 8 o'clock, but he's out there at 5 o'clock running. So it's one thing that I want us to think about in our closets. We're talking about super successful living. This church is called to raise people. This church is empowering people. But part of that empowerment is that people need to do their own part of it. Let us think of our own sense of direction. Let every man, every woman, in their own spare time, reflect what is it they want to do. What is it, the task or the talent God has given to them? What is their understanding of that task? How easy or how difficult will it be? Because nobody ever said life is going to be easy. But nobody ever said it has to be extremely difficult either. It just takes some smartness, and smartness is having the knowledge of where you want to go, what you won't settle for, how long it will take you, how you will deal with those challenges, and what is your commitment to those things you want. Because if you have wavering commitment, you are likely to deter in the face of adversity. The next thing is compassion. Can I have 1 Corinthians 13, verse 2 to 3, please? 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 2 to 3. It says, if I have the gift of prophecy and I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. Verse 3. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but have not love, I gain nothing. Compassion is very important to be successful. In fact, Jesus said in Matthew 20, verse 2, that our number one responsibility is to love. If you're going to be successful, you've got to be a lover. There has been no leader that has been very, very successful, positively successful, because yes, you could tell me Gaddafi was a leader and he was a success in his right until he was chased away. But when you look at people that the world celebrates today, they are lovers of people. And the first person that came to my mind when I was reading this is Mandela. Yes, thank you, Sister Nola. We were thinking alike. Nelson Mandela came to my mind. This is a man that was in prison for 27 years, did not see his family, did not have access to his children. He actually contracted tuberculosis. A lot of times now we've been reading that Mandela has been going back to prison. The truth is that he is the consequence or the sequel of his imprisonment that is actually being dealt with in the hospital now, because he had diseases that he contracted that will never go away. But guess what? The first thing he did when he came was, he said, I have forgiven my enemies. This is one man that had every chance, like some countries did in Uganda, some leaders did in Uganda, say, chase away all of them, they are parasites. But no, he said, I have forgiven my enemies. Let's work together. Compassion will make you successful, because even your enemies one day could be very useful. There is a statement in my language that says, even a madman, if you listen to him very, very long enough, will make some sense. Your enemies of today might be your friends tomorrow. But if you don't have compassion, you may lose things around you. In fact, Jesus too said it, that love God and then love your neighbors as thyself. Sorry, I'm rushing through now. I just want to quickly say, Colossians 3 verse 12 also says, clothe yourself with compassion. Compassion is basically the dress you wear for success. When you are a compassionate person, people see the aura or the charm around you. People want to associate with you. Even people that you don't know could be of use, or things that you don't know, people will bring it your way simply because of that charm or that charisma around you. E is enthusiastic faith. Paul, as you know, is an eternal optimist. He is a hope addict. If you look at the Bible, so many times Paul was incarcerated, so many times Paul actually was persecuted. But one thing was, Paul never gave up hope. That is what you call enthusiastic faith. If you lack faith in anything you do, it's very, very easy to abandon it. But when you have that faith, some people are called, there's a phrase here in this country, they say, somebody is an irredeemable optimist. And I don't know if anybody has heard of this phrase, this story somewhere, that they were trying to talk about an optimist and a pessimist. That two people were given a stable, or sort of like they were given a present in a box. One of them opened it and all he saw was just horses' feces. and he was crying that, oh, this person hates me and everything. And the other one was given the same present. When he opened it, he saw horses' faces there, and he got a shovel. And people say, what are you trying to do? He said, oh, there must be a pony somewhere. Because, yes, it's true. If you have horses' faces, there must be a horse. So there's a pony somewhere. So that is an optimist for you. He sees the good thing in every bad situation. But when you are always so downcast, so defeatist in your attitude, it's very, very hard to be successful. Because in everything you do, count it joy, count it blessing. And you find that most of the people that are optimists, when they go through those challenges, always look back and say that has actually brought them, even made them more knowledgeable, giving them more skills. The S now is service to others. Paul's favorite title for himself, if you look at most of the letters Paul wrote to the church in Philippi, the church in Ephesus, was Paul, a servant of the Lord. That is his favorite phrase. There is no such thing as success without service. Because most of the successes you see actually provide a service. If you look at a good leader, a good president, they are what they call servant leaders. Even if you look at a good business, you provide a service. Because if you don't provide a service, then why should people patronize you? Because our time is gone now, the last part of it, which is the staying power, that is that endurance, the staying power to actually continue in the face of all negative things that you know it will be successful. I will leave Pastor to round up with that.
It is a great joy to know that you're being transformed by the Word of God that you have listened to. For inquiries, prayer, support or counselling, call this number 01908 538 141 or email admin@helivesbiblechurch.com. Why not visit us soon at 2nd floor, Maybrook House, 224 Queensway, Bletchley, Milton Keynes, MK2 2SZ. Visit our website www.helivesbiblechurch.com. The order of your life is glory. It is working.